Okay, so I'm Connor Hawkins, and this is my introduction to Unreal Engine 4 game development blueprints. So, what is Unreal Engine 4? Well, it's the fourth iteration of the Unreal technology, which has been in development since 1998 for the first person shooter game Unreal, and later Unreal Tournament by Epic Games. It is one of the most successful and widely used game engines today, which has been used by professionals and beginners in game development industry to craft different kinds of computer games, ranging from 2D to 3D, single player to MMO, and even AR, VR, and simulations. Well, what makes it so good? With its code written in C++, Unreal Engine features a high degree of portability and is a tool used by many game developers today. Many AAA games and thousands of indie games for a wide range of platforms have been developed in Unreal Engine, which proves it's a battle-tested tool for game development. The source code for Unreal Engine is available free of charge, which allows game developers to add new features and extend the engine for their in-house requirements. Although originally it was intended for creating first-person shooter games, it has been successfully launched into a variety of genres. Stealth, fighting game, MMORPG, you think of it, you can probably create it in Unreal. These are the supported platforms for Unreal Engine. So Windows, macOS, Linux, but there's no binary version, you have to build it from the source code. FreeBSD, but it's not official. And games that are created on those platforms can be launched into PlayStation, Xbox, Mac, iOS, PC, Android, AR, VR, Linux, Steam, and HTML. You can do a lot with it. What is the Blueprint visual scripting system? Well, a visual scripting system is designed for people that do not come from a computer science or programming background, such as artists or level designers. So instead of writing lines of code by hand like a traditional programmer, blueprints provide a way of scripting those lines of code in a visual manner by connecting a series of nodes which have functionality attached to them in order to create the same functionality that was traditionally once available only to programmers. In many ways, blueprints work identically to writing code. The only difference being Blueprint allows scripting in a more visual way and a lot easier to understand than writing lines of code and not being able to understand it. The Blueprint anatomy. This is what you see if you go into a Blueprint and go into the event graph of a Blueprint more precisely. On the top left box is the components window. That is where you will put all of your stack meshes, your particle system, your collision boxes, rotations, everything in there. Then you've got the construction script. It runs following the components list when an instance of a blueprint is created, enabling you to dynamically adjust the look and feel of the new object or actor. The event graph, which is what you currently see on screen, it contains a node graph that uses events and function calls to perform actions in response to gameplay events associated with the blueprint. This is used to add functionality common to all instances of a blueprint, and it's where interactivity and dynamic response is set up. The one you can see on screen is from my project for making a game. It was a basic damaging fire. But who is Blueprints ideal for? Well, as I said earlier, it's ideal for beginners who want to learn Unreal Engine 4 but have no programming experience yet. It's ideal for artists and game designers who have little to no experience in programming and want to create quick prototypes or simple games. And it's also ideal for programmers working in a massive team that want to make part of the game logic available to artists or game designers in order to offload some of their work and make it easier on themselves. Blueprint's pros and cons. Well, it's highly productive, especially for prototyping, creation, and iteration. It's got a very shallow learning curve. However, the cons being that it's 20 times slower than C++, factual. And although Epic Games introduced Blueprint navigation in the later versions of Unreal Engine 4 in order to circumvent performance issues by compiling blueprints to C++, it should be enabled manually. And it's still slower than handwritten. It doesn't have access to all engine features and API. It's not as extensible as C++, especially for large projects. Although Unreal Engine 4 has good source control support for Blueprint, has Git, Subversion, Perforce, it is not as good as C++ due to the nature of Blueprint assets, text versus binary. So what about C++? The pros and cons of C++ being that it's 20 times faster than Blueprint. It has unrestricted access to all features and APIs of the engine, but it does have a very steep learning curve. It's less productive because you'll be spending all your time writing it, and limited subset of C++, which can look and feel ugly. So what should you choose? Well, with C++, the advantages being faster runtime performance, it's significantly quicker than Blueprint logic, explicit design. By exposing variables or functions from C++, you have more control over exposing members, so you can have a formal API for your class, and it avoids creating overly large and hard-to-follow blueprints. In broader access, in addition to accessing more engine functionality, functions and variables exposed in C++ can be accessed from all other systems. More data control, you have access to more specific functionality for loading and saving data. You have replication support in Blueprints, straightforward, but tight control over replication bandwidth or timing is only possible through C++. C++ is better for math-heavy operations, and it's easier to diff merge it. Since C++ code and data is stored as text, it's easier to manage under source control software. What about Blueprints? Well, Blueprints are much faster, creation-wise. Prototyping brand new systems is often much faster in Blueprint because you don't have to write it out. It's much quicker to modify Blueprint logic and preview inside the editor than to recompile the game, although a hot reload can help. It's better for flow. Visualizing game flow in C++ is very complicated, whereas in Blueprints it's just node, node, node in a line. Flexible editing. Designers and artists without specific technical training can create and edit blueprints, which makes Blueprints ideal for assets that need to be modified by more than just engineers. And it's easier data usage. Storing data inside a Blueprint class is much simpler and safer than inside C++ classes. How about a perfect mix? Suitable for gameplay logic are the C++ classes and Blueprint classes, but there are also custom systems like the materials editor in Unreal Engine 4, the sequencer tracks, and AI behavior trees. But for data, you have C++ classes and Blueprint classes. However, there are much more systems that you can use for data saving, such as config files, data assets, tables, placed instances, custom systems like save games. And in the real world, a mid to large scale project uses a balanced dose of each. In fact, C++ and Blueprints are tightly coupled in Unreal Engine 4. But what if you don't think games design is for you? Well, simulation or real-time design is a thing in Unreal Engine 4, as I stated. In fact, NASA, McLaren, and Microsoft AirSim all utilize Unreal in that way. You can create AR, VR levels, and creating generic art, animation, visual effects, music assets, or pre-built reusable blueprints, or C++ plugins, and selling them on to other Unreal Engine 4 developers can prove to be quite lucrative, considering the 88% developer, 12% store revenue share, and more than 6.3 million users on the marketplace since its launch in 2014. But that is all. I have a document with some resources if you want more information. Just let me know. And thank you for listening.